So, Mr. Silverquill, tell me what's on your mind.
Well, I'm kind of preoccupied with the conflict of creation versus entropy and the inevitable outcome of life that is death. And bronies. Always the bronies.
I see. Might I ask what brought this on?
In one of my earliest videos, a person asked for my thoughts on Twilight outliving her friends as an alicorn. Now, Megan McCarthy said that Twilight won't outlive them via Twitter, yet I don't like it when writers do that. It's like saying, you have to cross-reference the show with Twitter and Wikipedia just to get the full story. But as I thought about it, I realized that there have been different phases to this issue. Twilight is just the most recent example. Before Twilight, people wondered if Cadence would outlive Shining Armor by centuries. Before that, it was Spike and Celestia outliving Twilight. And I've seen a lot of fan works that touch on both death and outliving loved ones. I'm not ashamed to say that some of them have made me tear up.
That is both adorable and heart-wrenching at the same time. Quite the admirable feat. I suppose putting direct references to death and immortality into MLP is probably something that we may never see, but it is rather fascinating when a number of bronies seem troubled by the fact that certain characters may end up outliving others. Goes to show just how much these ponies can leave a lasting impact on the real-life thoughts and struggles of some bronies. But in your case, how would that make you feel if they did start introducing concepts of mortality in these stories?
Well, it wouldn't be my first experience. I kind of remember when Sesame Street tackled the concept after Will Lee, aka Mr. Hooper, passed away. They were smart about it. Timed the episode to match with a long weekend so kids could talk to their families. Consulted with child psychiatrists on how to address the issue for young minds. I'm not sure that companies have that level of patience or foresight anymore. But if they were to tackle such issues, I think Fluttershy would be the better basis than Twilight.
I do believe that A Bird in the Hoof was originally supposed to be about a pet passing away, and how Fluttershy would end up dealing with it. Personally, I would have loved to see the MLP staff try to tackle that issue, as it would have added a lot more depth to the show. And I can agree that Fluttershy would be just the right character to take on such a story.
There was also the Celestia microcomic, which dealt with the idea very subtly. The entire supporting cast of teachers reflected various stages of life. Youthful, experienced, and elderly. Yet, I still think that Fluttershy and her animal friends would be a better reference for kids.
In the case of bronies, however, why do you suppose that so many of them have wanted to ask questions like this in regards to their favorite characters?
I read in the last Brony census that the average age is 17 to 25, give or take. I don't know much about psychology, yet I think that'd be about the time mortality became a real issue for a person. A lot of stories in comics I've seen aren't just about death, but living on after someone we love has passed. I think that MLP offers just the right level of honest, open characters that we can project ourselves and our thoughts onto, using them as a vector for our own reactions. We may read how Twilight mourns and comes to accept her losses, but we're really thinking, how would I react?
Personally, I love seeing those kinds of stories. The ones that make us step back and think about what kind of person we would be. But more so the kind of person that we should be, or even like to be. This is another reason why I enjoy so much creativity within the Brony fandom. We are instilled with a desire to improve upon ourselves, even in the face of something like mortality. We may never see any of these characters dealing with such life-changing issues in the show itself, but I am always intrigued, if not inspired, when I can see writers, artists, and animators tackling mature topics without making them out of reach for a general audience. I suppose that perhaps MLP does share a few similarities with something like Sesame Street, introducing concepts that a young mind can understand, but still stays with us as adults. We can stretch these characters that far without making them feel any different from the ponies we already see in the show, and perhaps in that way, we are better able to tackle questions and struggles that we ourselves might be afraid of. I think that many bronies feel inspired by these characters so much that perhaps they feel as though ponies like Twilight, Applejack, Fluttershy, and others are better prepared to handle something that they might be afraid of. And as we can see, there are countless other bronies who read these stories or view those art pieces or watch those animations and better appreciate those characters in much the same way as the author, the artist, or the animator did. And perhaps feel comforted and uplifted by seeing their favorite ponies taking on something so difficult and becoming all the stronger for it. What do you think, Silver Quill?
I think that goes for stories in a nutshell. If it's the right mix of setting, character, and plotline, our own imaginations take off and we're given a vessel to deal with grief. I've lost loved ones over the years and oftentimes dreamt up a tale as a means of context. It's part of why I admire such a well-done show that may be aimed at kids, yet can connect with adults as well. I don't know if we'll ever get a direct address of death in the show, but I do like that fans have a framework to express themselves. As long as there's a set of tissues on hand for when the feels hit.
Yet another reason why MLP has created such a thriving fan base, I suppose. And another reason why I'm so inspired by it. Is there anything else weighing on your mind?
I do have these dreams where the mystery box opens and inside is a pink alicorn filly who looks like Sweetie Belle. Is that weird?
I would have to wonder when you've been finding enough time to sleep in the first place.
Me too. In fact, I kind of wonder if I'm not... Ah, come on.